Okay, so we're back with episode 6. This time we're talking about training methodology, and yeah, quite an interesting subject. Quite a lot of areas we can go to, but I'll throw over to you. I remember once in one of these discussions you were talking about the vertical model that you tend to follow. Do you want to sort of give a brief intro onto what that is and yeah, how you utilize it, I guess?
So what I try and follow, um, and I think it's adopted by anybody that stresses performance over everything else. You can either put you can set your sights. Well, you can set your sights anywhere you want. You can set your sights in many places, but you've got to have a priority of do you want to focus on the performance of something or the process of getting there? You know, so there's different training models, that address that. The problem with just going for performance is you could have a prodigy who throws the ball further than anybody else in the world, but he kind of breaks all the conventional norms of how he did it. It's just
Yeah,
how he does it. So you might not be able to replicate that with somebody else. You could then focus on the actual processes, though, where the performance isn't the issue, it's how you do it.
mm,
I believe a combination of both is best.
yeah,
But in a situation where we're talking about performance counts, and it will count, you know, you defending yourself against somebody in a dark alleyway one day, you're not going to score points for doing it properly. You're going to score points for how well you perform,
yeah, getting the job
So
done.
I believe that we've got to set the focus on performance. You
Yeah,
know, we're not getting judged in front of people that are going to hold up a scorecard like, you get an 8.5, for your,
yeah, yeah. For
for how you
aesthetics.
did it, yeah, for
Yeah,
aesthetics. So I do believe that we've got to put the red dot on performance as being the thing. If you look at, say, sports, or you look how the military do things, again, they're all about performance, aren't they? They've got a very high stakes game they're both playing. You know, they want to win, they want to survive, they want to defeat the other person, whatever, in any capacity. So again, process, you've got to focus on that, you've got to get there, but performance is where you've got to get. So the
yeah,
vertical model I have is if we take a point, can you see my finger?
yep,
Yeah, if we take a point, that above that point is performance and below that point is technical depth, how good you are at the thing, and
yeah,
performance is how well you can do it. So for instance, I believe in that vertical model doesn't have to be very wide, because how many things do you need in your curriculum really?
yeah,
You know, and if you look at, say, we've talked about this on another podcast, I think, if you looked at 100 street fights via CCTV, people actually getting attacked and mugged or whatever. We looked at then 100 professional MMA fights, MMA being the broadest usage of different techniques.
yep,
If you sat down and you actually analysed what occurred on a sheet of paper, you wrote down every time you saw a punch, kick, headbutt, rear naked choke, double leg takedown, you wouldn't have a very long list really.
no,
And it'd be very similar on both genres of what you were looking at in a
yeah,
lot of ways. Obviously, the pro fighters are doing it at a far higher level, but they're kind of following the similar model to the guys who are just brawling or mugging some old lady. They're doing the same kind of stuff. You very rarely see the outlier techniques and the fancy stuff.
yeah,
So we can establish then that we don't need a very broad selection of options. So what we want to focus on, what I want to focus on, is the depth of that. So how good are you? How much do you know the techniques rather than how much are you trying to remember a new one?
yeah,
And looking at, say, the simplest thing, but from every angle possible. So if you are talking about a punch or a particular submission, can you apply it in all different kinds of circumstances? The same thing, basically, variations of it, but you know, going into depth of application.
yeah,
And then we're talking about the performance element of it is how good are you at it? How fast can you do it? How hard can you do it?
Yeah.
You know, how quickly can you apply it, etc., etc., etc. That's the vertical model,
Yeah.
as opposed to using a horizontal model where you don't really bother about depth so much. And I'm always confused when I see people saying that technique doesn't matter, you know, and it's all about the attitude or the mindset and it's all about the aggression or whatever. It's like, okay, I get that. That's the fuel. But you do need a machine. You do need an
Yeah.
engine.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, the best kind of analogy would be like hardware and software. You know, you can't say that hardware is not important. It's just about the software
Mm.
because what you're going to run it on.
Yeah. Exactly.
In the same way as you can't say that hardware is all you need. You know, you do need a program. But I would rather have, you know, a very early incarnation of Windows running on my computer than the latest edition when I don't actually have a computer,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Or you
Yeah.
could even,
100%.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm no IT guy, but you know, the latest Windows won't run on a crappy computer. That's
No.
the thing. Yeah, so, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
whereas a really good computer will run an old version of Windows. You know, that's that hardware software thing.
Yeah.
Okay. No doubt on the comments, we're going to get some IT guru who's going to tell me I'm completely wrong.
Yeah.
And I probably am. So I don't really care. But I'm sure it got the point across. It's all I
Yeah.
care about rather than
Yeah.
being technically accurate. So anyway, the horizontal model then would be we don't really care about the depth of what we're doing so much. And the performance again is impacted by that. So what we do is we just keep adding stuff.
Yeah. A new
And I think
technique
you
every day.
can see that.
Yeah.
Pardon?
A new technique every day. So every
Yeah.
session, learn something new.
Well, I think you can see that sometimes when you see guys who start off and they're teaching good stuff, you know, and then they keep going, and eventually then it starts to get into underwater tomahawk fighting and, you
Yeah.
know, fighting in outer space and whatever, because they're running out of things to teach.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a big problem there that if the depth isn't important, ostensibly then as an instructor, the moment I've taught you something, you now know exactly what I know about it and know, you know,
Yeah.
then how do I retain my instructor status? Well, I got to find something new to teach you. And I think after a while, you can fall into the trap of like the old story of the piano teacher that was only one lesson ahead of his students,
Yeah.
and the students would never know.
Yeah.
You know, so
Th-
I try and
Yeah.
avoid that.
That's where like the C2 model, I think the pad drills are varied. There are a number of different pad drills, but affecting, changing the environment, the lighting, all
Yeah.
those things, yeah, I mean, it just adds to it. So it's all well and good to be able to do a straight cross or something, but now can you do it, in these different environments? Can you do it under duress? Can you do it, all those ways, like, the drills, dog and two bones and all those kind of stuff, under pressure, under different circumstances. And that adds to that depth. Like, and like you were saying, performance as well. Like you just see now you can get that shot to land in so many more circumstances, just
Mm.
by, yeah, like you said, just continually working at it and not skipping over
We,
it, not just
we've
adding.
talked we've talked I think before about this, and you know, it's something a point I try and make a lot of times is that if we were going to look at the industry, call it the industry, I don't really know what it is,
Yeah,
but if we look at the industry and we establish that okay, there are some problems with the industry,
couple. Yeah,
there are problems with every industry.
yeah,
You know what I mean? If you talk to a doctor or a landscape gardener, they would tell you, "Oh, in my industry, we've got all these problems." You know,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But the problems aren't what people think they are, because most people think that they don't know enough stuff, and
yeah,
that's why they want to go to every seminar, they buy every book, get all the DVDs. They think that somewhere there's a man sitting in a cave on a mountain that's got the answer to their problem. That
yeah,
it's just something that they don't know, you know. So they want to get more stuff. That really isn't the problem, in my opinion. Like I said, if you look at what is proven to actually work, there's nothing exotic really, or esoteric, or hugely creative that goes on
Yeah.
in what we could call a real fight. I mean, that certainly would include what goes on inside a ring, on an octagon, or on a mat. It's a real fight, you know. It's just non-sportive. You know, the guys who fighting on the street or in the pubs, or you know, attacking people on in alleyways and stuff like that. It's all the same physicality of what's going on. So again, it's not a very broad spectrum. So where's this magic thing that you need, that you know, that's not good actually done in theory? You know, how do you think you're going to solve a problem with it?
Yeah.
I think the big problems is that the stuff that we have got, people just aren't doing it well enough.
Yeah.
You know, like we talked before, it's like, you know, Roger Federer is going to beat me at tennis, not because he knows more techniques than me. You know, he's going to beat me. He's going to beat you. He's going to beat everybody else using the exact same stuff we learned on our first tennis lesson.
Yeah.
The same underhand, overhand, backhand, whatever strokes they are. Yeah. Again, tennis experts, I know I'm wrong. I don't know anything about tennis, but you know, the point I'm trying to make is the point I'm trying to make. So he hasn't got a special Wimbledon syllabus, you know, or access to a new curriculum. We can have the same racket as him, the same shoes, everything. He just does it at a higher level, and that's
Yeah.
what people miss out. I think they underestimate how technical proficiency affects your performance,
Yeah.
and also your training modality as well, which we can get to obviously in due course. That it's not so much what you're training a lot of the time; it's how you train it.
Yeah.
You know. So I'm a big believer in that vertical model is how people excel at things. And if
Yeah.
you look at anybody that is good, they will probably follow that same thing. You
Yeah.
know, Tiger
And
Woods isn't looking. Tiger Woods is not looking for a new way to hit a golf ball.
no,
That's the
it's
thing.
perfecting what he does. Yeah.
Exactly. You know what I mean? You know, any or get on the bag or whatever and fix it for new techniques. I mean, obviously, occasionally Steven Seagal blesses them with a technique that he's fucking created. Yeah, but you know, they're not looking for new stuff. You know, I mean, all you can find is people have the creativity, I think, for what you can do in the fight. I think has been fairly much exhausted. All
Yeah.
right, and people might lambast me for that, but the creativity though is how you train it. That's
Yeah.
where it's still open.
Yeah.
You
Hundred
know what I
percent.
mean? The
Yeah.
wheel's been invented, hasn't it?
It
We're
has.
probably not going to make a better shape that performs the task it has to do better than a wheel,
Yeah.
but we can change what the wheel's made out of, and you know what I mean, and how
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
connected, and the materials, and you know, we can change that stuff. And I think people are looking in the wrong direction. They want to make a new wheel, and I don't. I want to make the wheel that we've proven to work better. That's it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the vertical model. The
Yeah.
horizontal model is, well, we've got an octagonal wheel, and we've got a square one, and then we've got the triangular wheel.
Yeah.
Then we've got
What
a
else can we add?
ball.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you must have had it as well. I've had guys at seminars who I don't know what they were expecting, because the word I would get afterwards was that they quite enjoyed it, but they didn't learn anything new.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, you know what? I kind of do preface the whole seminar and tell people you're not going to learn new stuff here, you
Yeah.
know, but you're going to learn new ways of doing it, maybe.
Yeah.
And we're going to look at it with new eyes, maybe. But as for actual physical options, unless you're absolutely brand new to the game, yeah, well, we're doing punching, we're
Yeah.
doing elbowing, we're doing headbutting and eye gouging and hooks and knee strikes and kicks with the shin and stamps with the bottom of the foot. We're covering the red flag to the same way that everybody else does. So what were you expecting to learn? You know, where
Yeah.
what I'm kind of like sometimes quite surprised, thinking, what did they fucking want?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that the people who fall into that trap, though, are the people that do try and find, or for no reason at all, invent things that are new. You
Yeah.
know, crazy things to do that, well, nobody else has done that. People
Yeah.
have been fighting for a long time, and you know it's been tried before, and there's a reason why it's not still being tried.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not
it.
saying that there's no such thing as innovation, but you know, a few 100,000 years of human evolution, I think we've got to how our arms and legs bend and
And
what's
move and
feasible and what isn't. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
absolutely.
You figure out a new way of throwing a ball, I'm open to it, but I'm pretty sure it'll all eventually look like the way that everybody else throws that ball.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, the body only moves in a certain way, and all these people
Yeah,
are looking for these secrets and things and mysticism. It's one of the big things, particularly when it comes to Eastern martial arts. They're looking for, and I think I was guilty of that as a kid, thinking,
yeah,
I'd look at these big football players and think, oh, how can I beat them? What sort of tricks can I learn and stuff like that? And again, after years of exploration, nothing, just be better at those
yeah.
things.
I mean, people listening now, they might think this is very defeatist, but no, it's realist. It's a
Saving
realist in that
time.
it's where you put your effort. You know,
Yeah,
because human creativity has no bounds, but there are certain physical limitations of what you've got to work with.
yeah,
So, like you just, the arms and legs will work the same way and things like that. So, I just think that you're chasing your own tail if you're looking for a new way to throw a punch,
yeah. And you're
right?
wasting
And that's
time.
that.
And
And
yeah,
again, that's the horizontal model, isn't it? You're looking for these new things,
yeah,
and I think it gets thinner the further out you go. You start running out of feasible options
yeah,
just for the sake of being creative. The creativity goes into how can we increase performance, how can we, but again, that's the depth thing, training everything.
yeah,
That's where you really want to focus your effort,
yeah.
you know.
I don't understand focusing on anything else. Like, if you're training in this game to be better at fighting and what you're doing is pointless, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get your ass kicked. And that's no fun. I don't understand it. Like, even other sports and things that I coach, like, people want results. Like, it doesn't matter how pretty
Well,
you
look,
look.
I'm no management guru, but and I don't even pretend to play one on TV, but th- people have worked for companies and they'll tell you that this company we work for, they focus so much on needless bureaucracy and administration, we can't actually get the job done because
Yeah,
we've got to fill out everything in triplicate and we've got to, we can't just do
yep,
the job we're meant to do. We're overly burdened by the process and the performance. The product is what we're trying to do. You
yeah,
know, people will tell you, and the martial arts combatives, I should say, exactly like that. You end up chasing your tail around so much, being creative and focusing so much on the games and the training and whatever, you lose sight of what we're actually meant to be doing here. You know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's why again I always pull people back. Look, if you're in doubt, you know, look at the market leaders in fighting. All
yeah,
right. And it's not guys who might do it one time and they work as an accountant in the day, but they train a lot. And one day they might have to defend themselves against somebody. Look at the guys who know exactly when their next fight's going to be,
yeah,
who it's going to be against, and what they're going to have to do. And look at how they train for the event that they know they're going to have compared to the guy who trains in inverted commas for an event that might never, ever, ever happen, that he
yeah,
has no frame of reference of either.
yeah,
I'd, like make snow difficult training for fighting. How would you do that? It says, well, look at the guys who are doing it.
yeah,
There's no
yeah,
secret there. What are they doing?
yeah,
How does a pro boxer train? How does an MMA guy train? How does a wrestler train? You know, the physicality that they need is the physicality they're training for.
yeah,
So really, it's kind of an easy question to answer because I could just point at one of those guys and just say, do what he's doing.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Rather than me trying to invent something crazy and new. I've seen all kinds of people advocate all kinds of things.
yeah,
And it's like, okay, so why aren't the pro fighters doing that?
yeah. Makes
To be quite
sense.
honest. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like back in the day when I think Mark Kerr fought the Wing Chun guy in the UFC. Like, what more do you need? That
Did
was an
he?
absolute mauling. Guy came out, little guy in his little stance, and got destroyed. Like, you
Well, I
know.
don't know about that. I mean, don't forget though, Mark,
Oh yeah, he's a,
Mark can mold everybody. So,
that's true.
what can you say?
That's true.
You know, I don't think
Yeah,
it's not so much a downplaying on any particular style of sport, was it? It just mauled everybody, you know.
yeah,
So, yeah.
just a
But
machine.
you know that the training methodology is, you know, there's a lot of new names for a lot of old things. In that, a lot of people want to copy. Well, they want to get not so copy. It's a bad word to use. They want to get inspiration
Yeah,
from people who are leaders in the field. Okay, so you know, you go on YouTube and say, for instance, you want to see how the top athletes are training. You know, that's your sport. You know,
yeah,
let's go back to tennis. All right. You know, I want to get good at tennis. So how do the Williams sisters train? How does Federer train? Blah, blah, blah. And then you'll see something cool that they'll do, like the Williams sisters. You know, their father was very instrumental in them, you know, controversial, but,
yeah.
you know, he had a very clear mindset of how he was going to achieve things. So you'll hear about him making them practice using a baseball bat rather than a tennis racket.
Mm.
Because obviously, if you can hit a tennis ball with a baseball bat, a tennis racket is a gift, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, that's it.
So that's a tiny little thing that he did, but somebody will see that and think, well, that's cool. That's a great idea. I'm going to do that.
Yeah,
The only problem is that was the icing on the cake for the hard slog they had to do, the grind
yep,
they would do. All right. So they might show Roger Federer's like cool as fuck advanced training thing that he does, you know, or you'll see Lomachenko, the boxer, you know, doing all the mind puzzles and stuff and playing chess in between sparring. And people think, I've got to do that.
yeah,
I've got to do that thing with the wooden shapes. And then I'm going to go do some bag work and then I'm going to come back. We'll see all that, but they won't see the grind. Because why would you? Why would you
yeah,
make a YouTube video showing a guy, you know, doing 1,000 serves?
yeah,
You know what I mean? Why would you do that? It's boring.
yeah,
The same way as in a movie, they don't show the guy sleeping for 5 hours, do they? Because it's so pretty much the sleeping for 5 hours. So
yeah,
you
yeah,
skip that bit and you show all the cool stuff he did
yeah,
in his day and or she did saving the world and stuff like that. I think that's where people miss it though. They're buying the advanced book, but they're at a stage where they should be buying the basic book.
yeah, yeah. There's the whole new
And it's
TikTok world.
seductive. It's seductive. You know what I mean? Because it
Yeah,
is, you know, nobody wants to do the 1,000. I don't even like standing there when people are doing the hundreds of reps of deliberate practice.
yeah,
Boring for me.
yeah,
Saying to people the whole time, more bit more hip there, move your heel, you know,
yeah, yeah,
you know what I mean, tilt your head. You know, I'm doing it over and over and over again. It's boring for me to do that, you know what I
yeah,
mean? But it's necessary. So nobody
yeah,
wants that. It's a grind for the guy doing it. It's the guy for the guy holding the pad. You know, it's a grind for the guy supervising it. Far better doing the fun stuff. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But it's necessary.
yeah.
You
And as
know,
you
so
said, anyone who excels, that's what they do. Like training
of course,
sucks. It
of
sucks.
course,
You know,
yeah,
it's not
of
fun.
course.
Well, like, I mean, you got to love it. Like, you wouldn't do it if you didn't, for the most part. But it's not fun. It's not cool. It hurts. And they don't, like you said, they don't show you at 8:30 at night when your friends are like, "Come out for a beer," and you're like, "No, no, I got to go to bed. I need a full night's sleep because I'm up early to train tomorrow." They don't show that horrible part of it that
No,
I
it's grind.
think, yeah, only a certain percentage of the population are capable of doing.
I mean, there's lots of books on the subject, the the nature versus nurture subject.
Hmm.
Loads of books available on it because it's a big deal. Um, my favorite would be the book called Bounce by Matthew Syed.
Yep.
Definitely worth a read. Very easy readers. Look how
Easy
cool
read.
I am. I'm going
Yeah.
to be this because it's written from the perspective of he was a sportsman. He was a table tennis player. So he kind of writes it from a perspective of physical, technical performance. A lot of the other books are written more to do with business and things like that, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, the thing he establishes there is that weight or lost weight,
If you keep.
anybody that has ever excelled, like you said, kind of followed a very familiar kind of path. And it
Mm,
was about putting in the work. You
yep.
know, it was time served, but not just how long you've done something or how much you've done of it, but how you did it. What were your methodology for it? So
Yeah.
something I use very heavily, and this was a study by Anders Ericsson, is a process known as deliberate practice,
Yeah.
where you're not just doing reps for the sake of doing reps. You set a criteria first, a quality criteria, that this counts as a pass, this counts as a fail, so there's a hit and a miss, whatever.
Yeah.
And you do a lot of reps with constant feedback on every single one, and you only count the ones that make the criteria. So if you set the number as 100, you might take you 200 reps to get that 100 good ones.
Yeah.
And pretty much you establish with a lot of research, real research, not stuff I've done on Google. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it when people say, I'm a researcher. It says, no, you've just got broadband connection. That's what you are. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on. Let's be honest about that. But established people follow the same path, and it's all
Mm.
about that mindful practice that they've got.
Yeah.
Like the best way of explaining that would be like if you go on a shooting range, you don't count how many times you pull the trigger. You count how many times you hit the target.
Target. Yeah.
So if you want 50 hits, it might take you 100 bullets to get 50 hits, but you don't count the 100, you count the 50.
Yeah.
So that's the same. And you
Yeah.
can apply that to almost anything.
Yeah. Because that's one thing
You
I've
know,
found is people generally go through the motions, and I've stopped like my classes the other day, like our warm up is we do, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes of bag work and then come inside. And I just watch and people are going, and I stopped and I was like, have a specific purpose in mind
mm.
whilst you're on that bag. Like this bag's good for knees, this one you can do this on. Get a set combo, and even if you just for that period of time you're on there, just drill that one combo till you get it perfect and then move on. Like, and I've been guilty of it myself where you just get into autopilot, you're just hitting the bags, going through the motions. Before you know it, the session's over. That's the
See,
opposite of deliberate practice.
that's a whole thing about having direction, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can apply that to anything in life, I suppose. Although I'm not
Yeah.
a life coach, but don't want to be. And but in training for starters, if you don't have a direction, well, you're not really training. You might
No.
be exercising, but you're not really training as such. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's like getting in a taxi and just saying drive and expecting to get taken home.
Yeah.
You need to have a direction.
Yeah.
You need to know where it is. So, say for instance, on the 4 day course that I have, the in-depth one, in the mornings, barring the first morning, I don't, obviously I don't have a warm up as such.
Yeah.
There's no 30 minutes of push-ups and this and that and skipping or whatever. No, what I'll say to people is warm yourself up with what we did yesterday. Go back through it in your mind, particularly highlight anything that you've struggled with, you know, and work on it. So I'll leave people for 15 minutes while I'm, getting my head together for the next 8 hours of teaching I'm going to do. But when I'm going around people, I expect to say to somebody, all right, what are you working on? And I want a clear answer to
Yeah.
what you're working on. If you're just wiggling your hips around, because killing a bit of time, some people do, that's not good enough. You're wasting time now. We've only got 8 hours, and
Yeah.
training needs a lot of time for that day. I want somebody to say, I'm not moving my heel enough when I throw a punch, so I'm really trying to dial that. Great. Okay, that'll do. You've got something, you're working on it, you've got direction, you're going somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Similar at the end of the day, when we've done whatever we've done, we don't just high five and group hug and then go for a beer. Let's spend the last 15 minutes of the day being very introspective. Let's have a post-mortem. So we do this on operations as well. So after any job, you get the guys together at the end and you say, right, post-mortem time. Let's dissect what we did today. Let's dissect the move. This is where I got this from. And the rules are you can be as critical as you want about anybody, but you have to start with yourself.
Mm.
What did you do wrong? Or what
Yeah.
could you have done better?
Yeah.
And that's them's the rules. And anybody that says, oh, I thought I was fine, nobody trusts that guy. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's like, come on,
Yeah.
come on. So it's the same in training. So it's the end of the day, like you say, right, what did you suck at the most today? And you got to be very introspective and think, you know what? Getting off the floor, I looked like an old man, you know? I need to work off. I need to work on getting off the floor and getting in the fight.
Yeah.
Or I really need to work on my left hammer fist because it looks like it belongs to somebody else. Or I need to work, as long as it's something.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, grab a guy or get on the bag or whatever and fix it.
Yeah.
That's like driving your car and a red light comes up on the dashboard and there's a problem with the car, but you stick the car on your driveway and then in the morning you expect that red light to have gone out all by itself.
Mm.
So, you're not going to fix something unless you actually address it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I have that kind of system where we'll look at skills and we'll drill the skills, massive amounts of repetitive, deliberate practice. So we can talk about that a bit later as well. What would be called in the old days blocked practice, the
Yeah.
bad stuff.
Yeah.
Then we'll combine it into drills where we add some of the skills together and introduce it into more dynamic situations. That would be called then random practice, where you're having to make split-second decisions rather than you just locked into a particular repetitive pattern.
Yeah.
So then we'll get the skills to the drills. Then we'll test the drills, usually with some sort of force-on-force training against somebody who's alive and wants to do the same to you. So it's not just a drill, it's not just a game, it's a fight. Okay, we're testing it under fairly realistic circumstances. But then probably the most important aspect of this, though, is the fourth element, which would be then repair.
Mm.
What went wrong?
Yeah.
What can we fix? And if you follow that skills, drills, testing, and repair, you're going to improve.
Yeah.
If you miss out the repair, you're just going to keep building in what kept going wrong.
Yeah. Bad
Because you're
habits.
never addressing it. You're getting a red light on your dashboard.
Yeah.
But you're not fixing it.
Yeah.
You're expecting it to go out. Oh, I'll do it. I'll do with that on the next one. I'll do it. When you figure out, oh, I did this wrong. Yeah, we'll do it on the next one. No.
Yeah.
It's not over until you've fixed what went wrong. So
Yeah.
that's how I look at that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Makes sense.
How do you?
I do the same with basketball, shooting. It's the same thing. You have to make an X amount of makes as opposed
What are you trying to teach you that?
to you get it done sort of thing. And it's the same. So have a look. Where's the ball hitting the rim? How do I adjust to stop that happening? How do I, whether it's, you follow through up rather than forward or your feet positioning or, there's so many little factors that go into it. And yeah, it's just that attention to
Well,
detail that
sometimes you just,
separates people.
sometimes it's like tuning a car. You can't just keep driving the car faster and hope that it's just going to get better.
Yeah.
At some point you got to pull over, lift up the hood, the bonnet, wherever you come from,
Yeah.
and start looking at the engine, don't you?
Yeah.
There's some component in there that's letting you down. Now, you don't win a race by polishing your engine, but you also, you don't make your car go faster just by driving it. There's a
Yeah.
combination of the two.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of lost a lot of the time because, everybody wants to drive.
Yeah.
It's exciting. Everyone
Yeah.
wants to drive. But at some point when you start getting problems with your car, you've got to the restaurant stuff maybe next week. And I think that kind of avoidance of technical detail is a red flag to me.
But that's when I asked the explanation.
It's not important and it's all about attitude or it's mindset or something. It's like, well, look, you could have the best mindset in the world, but if you can't knock me on my ass with something kinetic,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All you are is an angry man in front of me. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? You know what I mean? That's all you are.
Yeah.
You've got to have the hardware and you just, you can't run. Everything's got to be perfect. Highly advanced programs, I should say, on very basic systems that don't support them.
Yeah.
And it's always a red flag to me when as soon as I hear that from somebody that, oh yeah, we really focus on concepts, not techniques. That's usually a cop out. That's
Yeah.
usually somebody who doesn't have any techniques.
Yeah.
It's easy. It's like when guys say, yeah, soft skills are more important than hard skills. It's like, well, no, not when you need hard skills, they're not.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. You kind of need both.
Yeah.
It's that typical internet argument of either or, isn't it? And it's usually a combination of both,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, I'm always suspicious when people say that, that yeah, it's not about technique, it's all about attitude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, not at
Equally,
all.
though, it's not all about technique. You do need some attitude,
Yeah,
but I just don't see why people downplay the technical
one or the
side
other.
unless they don't want to do the work or they don't really know how to do the work.
Yeah,
Then, then it's like the guys that used to say, size and strength have got, don't matter in a fight. Well, yeah, I've never seen a big strong guy wished he was smaller
yeah, yeah,
and not so strong to do better.
yeah. And I guarantee you, the
So
guy that said that was small.
probably,
So, you know,
probably,
yeah,
yeah. You can't get around physics. You just can't.
yeah.
That's it.
And those people are
Um,
easy to spot too. Those instructors are easy to spot. You just see that like um, they'll curtail with their information or their what they're doing to cover for their
well, I've got to
inadequacies, I
say,
guess. Yeah,
if you have a deficit somewhere that's quite important and you do nothing about it, but you admit it's important, well, you're kind of an idiot, to be
yeah,
quite honest. It's like, really? So you know it's really important, but and you could train it, but you're choosing not to.
yeah.
That's not a very positive state to be in, is it, really, to be
No,
honest? So if you choose not to do that particular thing, to escape being called an idiot, to have a finger pointed at you, you have to downplay how important it is,
yeah,
don't you?
yeah,
There's no need for that. If you say, "Oh yeah, there's a really big need for that," or do you train that? No, I don't.
yeah.
That doesn't portray you in a very positive light, does it? So,
No, not at all.
if you want to be of that mindset, so yeah, I'm always of that mind. It's like when you see the cliched bumper sticker, t-shirt slogan, answers to really complex problems. Like, you see a guy, never go to the ground in a street fight.
Yeah,
Oh, well, that's sorted then.
yeah.
Yeah, there we go. You
Easy.
know, okay, okay. But then again, like I say, we'll tell a boxer then never get hit in the head in a boxing match.
Yep.
You know, or tell that little old lady don't get mugged.
Yeah,
Fixed it.
yeah. Problem solved.
Yeah, yeah. It's okay. I'm with you on that one. Yeah, good, good, great. You did a great job there. It's like the guys, to get more power, you got to hit harder.
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
Trying.
fantastic. You
Yeah,
really nailed that one. Yeah, how much do I owe you for that? That gem of wisdom. It's
yeah.
like, come on. You know what I mean? Yeah. But again, that's the depth thing, isn't it? On the
Yep.
model, you
Yeah.
don't have the depth, so you don't teach the depth.
Nor do
You
you
don't
have the
know it.
performance. Yeah,
Yeah. Performance doesn't come from nowhere. You don't throw something further by just wanting to throw it further.
yeah,
There needs to be a physical means of doing that, and yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's a strange one for me. That is, yeah.